was happening, I ended up meeting with a group of women in 2012, and that was people like Auntie Lome, Auntie Winterkani, Emma Vueti, three of the women who were part of the PWA in the Pacific Island, Queensland Council. And we were just chatting, and I said to them, I'm really interested in looking at this, but I'm not going to take this approach unless I know the community says it's a priority.
Yes.
And they said,
and that was it.
And that was we want health screening. We need to do this. It's an issue. Nobody likes to talk about it. So we sat as a small group in one of those Vietnamese restaurant up the road, and we're having our noodles, food, all this around food. So we had 3 meats, and we chit-chatting, laughing, talanoa, and just having a ball. And
that's where the magic happens, though.
And that's also where then I think then we had the International Women's Day where the women were saying let's have a network and alliances set up in and then that was the first stage, and then the second stage was the Pacific Women's Alliances became so we set up as a network in 2013 from that outcome, and then strategically my PhD and then looking at diabetes and health, community health, became all placed as one of the initiatives and the intent.
Yes.
And so, I just said that means the women will drive this. So we had different groups of, I think, people in the network, and it wasn't incorporated. And I think 2014, it became incorporated. And I remember as a network, every time we met, we all had $1 coin donation. So that was our money. Every time we met for coffee, everyone 50 cents, $1, whatever coin. So I just remember talking about you starting with nothing. And we still do that. Everyone came, women brought in $1, and so that was the starting of our little kitty, and to where we are now.
To where it is now. Oh, that is such an amazing story.
And all the women come in, and people have contributed in various ways. And it's not just the health and the diabetes. From the education side. And Inez, who used to be one of the past presidents, she's now doing her professional doctorate at Griffith University, and you would talk to her as well. She's what the MC.
Yes,
she's absolutely dynamo and dynamics. We call her the Queen Madam, right?
Yes.
She's absolutely lovely, and her husband. And then there's Glenda Stanley, and then we had another one, Valami Kora, who is also second, third generation Fijian. And these people have come on board and have made such a significant contribution with all the committee members. I think they all came from various cultural groups. So I think they say the Pacific Women's Alliances are represented by 22 of the Pacific Island country nations.
Yes.
And very true. So within the committee, if you have 8 or 12, and I think there's 2 regional, one from Cairns and Bundaberg, but comes from the main groups, PNG, Samoan, Tongan, Fijian and Cook Islands, so they've got representations that way, and as well as members.
Yes,
so
that's beautiful. I love that, and I think that's what grabbed me to read more about the Women's Alliance, because I first saw it and I thought, this is good. As I started to dive deep more into the website and into what the actual objectives were, and then how many of the different cultures and the women's that are in this group, that's actually very significant and very powerful, I believe.
Yes.
I believe it is, because especially where we are now, where sometimes we kind of do get a little cliquey with our own people.
Yes.
It's kind of like we stay in our little huddles, but it's like, no. This group actually accommodates so many different types of women. I love it. And I love it.
The whole notion of, it's no longer really about politics, but it's about empowering us as women. And the cultural diversity, the diversity and the culture each woman brings is actually the strength.
Yes.
So we speak the one language, even though we are from various cultures. We speak the one language, and we're all connected.
Yes,
we
are.
Water, the oceans and their water, isn't it?
It is. And we forget about that. I guess because we're in our own lives, we're in our own little bubbles. But when we come back to this, it's more powerful. I can't read it from a book and experience. I have to be with the women. I have to be surrounded by it. That's why I really enjoyed, when I went to the PWA, because that was my first, encounter with the women. I just looked around and I was like, there's some powerful women in here.
Yes.
Obviously you included. But I love the fact that the women of this generation you know, I know we're on different ages, but I'm just like, we are all the same, and I love that.
And I think I'm glad you brought that up, because I think what also differentiates us from other organizations is not having that, not just the gender, but the age barriers are not there.
Yes.
It's about inclusiveness, and I think all the way through, it's also looking at the youth, the middle age and the elder generations, and yet there's respect, but also saying that we as younger generations and the ones younger has a voice.
Yes.
Because, you know, we do live in that culture and the hierarchy, but I think the Pacific Women's Alliances have actually allowed the younger generations to have a voice.
Exactly.
And which is important.
Okay, it's very important. And that's why, as when I was looking through and reading about it, I was like, this is beautiful. I need to know how this started. And now I've just got the story.
Yes.
And I wonder, like, you know.
And I think so. So from that on, so they've continued running the two main signature events. You know, the International Women's Day, which happens internationally, but it's grown.
Yes.
And now we're bringing in other women's organizations have come in as membership, which is great.
Yes.
And like I think the Islamic women, the Dami Indian women, the Burundi African women. I think there might be a few. I'm not sure, but have to check with Lima. And then the other one is the multicultural festival. So I think this was the second time I was invited to speak, so which is actually quite an honor and privilege, both as a committee member as well as a member. To talk collectively as to the community and with the women as a voice. So. And now, and what also has happened is because my focus, and I think our little committee was involved with the health initiative, the Stronger Families and Stronger Families, and I'm not sure what it all was called. Healthier, Stronger Families.
Yes.
So the diabetes actually became the platform for the research, was to actually work with the women, and they drive it. But also what happened was we were able to, through the Diabetes Queensland Scholarships, what we did was we actually used that to host the community forum.
Wow.
So we did our first one in 2013, and we had 60 women.
Wow.
And at that time it was Anastasia Palaget was the opposition, and she actually did the opening. She attended. From Inala, she came in and she attended. So we had the politicians. So we always bring in the politicians to look good. But also later on we need the money.
Yeah, exactly. Money has to come from somewhere. So.
But talk about representing as a voice.
Yes.
And also advocating about the issues that's real. But they need to understand that we are not silent.
Exactly. Well,
and invisible invisible.
And we do have a voice, and I think that's what I find the most powerful too, is they realise that the voice does have, we've got some power to it, we've got some thought behind it. We're not, we don't just, we're not very meek. We do have,
and in being strategic. So that community forum was great because it always was only for women, run by women, and we involved all the ethnic community councils, Diabetes Queensland. We had about 6-7 different service providers and mainstream. So one of my aim was that talking with the women, what we wanted to do was actually not just looking at awareness, but also promoting the collaboration between the mainstream and our community, saying we have to start trusting them, but they also have to learn how we work.
Exactly. Oh, wow.
So we did our first lot of screening at that time, our health community screening, and we had about, I think, 12 or 15 School of Nursing from QUT came and did their placement, and they got credited. The second forum, we put it for a grant, we got some money, and we did it at Chermside. So this one was 2013 Southside, 2014 Northside at Chermside Uniting Church.
Yes.
And we had 120 women. 120 women. And that time we had that Claire from the Liberal side. I think she was on that side. Claire somebody. So she was and then my supervisors and professors came from university and just showed their face to look. And so I'll email you the photos.
Yes, please.
Go into our Facebook and you'll see the photos of the group ones.
Yes, okay, and I'm going to put them up on my site as well, just so they can see.
And then the third one was again applying for another grant, and then we hosted a whole of community. So this time we involved not just the women, we had the men, the women, the children, and we did it at QUT, and we also involved the Kiwi Daddies. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
Kiwi Daddies?
Yeah, so they're a Brisbane base. It's all around the world, and they do a lot of, and they're strong in New Zealand. So Eddie, I forgot his last name. He's one of the main organisers. So they're a group of men. So it's a closed group, but they do walk of life. Whenever they host them, and they're all into healthy living, lifestyle, and they do a lot of community stuff because they're actually focused a lot on the New Zealand communities who don't have the access to, health, welfare, and stuff. So they sort of are the organisation that provides support mainly for the guys. But surprisingly, when they do all these events, they involve the women.
The women as well, yes.
So I'm actually, and I'm very closely connected to him. So he brought his 60 members with their women and children. So we had about 20 kids. So lucky my husband has his staff helped out, and I got science faculty involved. The School of Faculty of Health, we had 62 students from podiatry, eye, nursing, nutrition. Yeah, they all did that, and we had about 7-8 Pacific Islander students from each of them too, who did the health screening. We got the QT Pacifica associations who actually did the setup, and they did the skit with Inez and Bruce. So they were my MCs. Can you imagine the couple? So they did the ones about what is diabetes and stuff. So I'll give you the post where the skit is.
Yes, please. Please.
So that was, and we had about almost close to 300 attendants. Wow. And we had the Pro Vice Chancellor who did the opening that day. So it was really, so that was fantastic. So that community forum, I think for us was all about, and so people are asking, Heena, when's your next one? So I'm thinking of actually this time, because I've moved strategically to Griffith because my supervisor moved there and have taken her women's wellness program. So now she's gone bigger. So she's reaching internationally as well. They've got one in China, one through India, UK with culturally diverse, and and I'm doing the Pasifika arm, and the New Zealand, and they've got one in New Zealand. So we're working with women around health and wellness. So I'm thinking of actually now thinking if we can put in for a grant, and if we do, like people are like yourself who. It'd be nice to get you involved. Do you know what I mean? And
absolutely.
willing to actually capture, but also, talk about your journeys, like when we do digital videos and stuff.
Because that's the age of it now. I mean, and that's how everyone seems to be connecting.
So that sort of partly did contribute to not the PhD side. It was more about how we look at behavior. We look at changes within the community, but involving the community at that level of saying, let's promote. Let's inform, let's really look at the awareness around diabetes, and let's destigmatize the whole thing.
Let's not make it so it's so taboo we're not allowed to talk about it. It's like it's treated like it's some sort of shameful thing that and that's and